I thought it was another Denver night. Bad beer, worn cables, the same four walls that never cared who you were. Then I saw Emily Carter in the crowd, and the room shifted like a warning I didn't understand yet. Backstage at the Fox and Hound, the air tasted like old whiskey and hot dust from the lights. Our little corner behind the curtain was a graveyard of cases, frayed cords, and a fan that only pushed warm air around like it was helping. I sat on a folding chair with my guitar on my knee, twisting the tuning pegs until each note stopped fighting me. My hands were steady. My head wasn't. Numbers ran through me the way they always did before a set. Rent, van repairs, a credit card that never seemed to go down no matter how many nights we played. I had 3 unfinished songs on my phone and 1 finished problem in my life. I was 30 and still telling myself this was temporary, like the universe owed me patience. Neon Highway was already loud in the other room. Ryan was joking with the bartender like he owned the place. Devin, our drummer back then, was tapping a rhythm on his thighs, eyes half closed, counting the night into shape. I watched them and tried to feel something clean like confidence. Instead, I felt tired. We walked out to the small stage, and the first chord hit the room hard enough to make the cheap glasses vibrate. People nodded, drank, and shouted into each other's faces. The bar did what bars do, absorbed everybody's mess and sold it back to them in rounds. I didn't notice her at first. Not because she wasn't noticeable, because I wasn't looking. Then between songs, when I stepped back from the mic to sip water, my eyes went to the right side of the room near the high tables. A woman had just come in with a friend. She didn't scan the bar like she was hunting for attention. She didn't carry herself like she needed to be seen. She just was. Dark hair, simple jacket, no loud jewelry, no performance. She leaned in to say something to her friend, and her smile was small, private, like she wasn't giving it away for free. The temperature of the room didn't actually change, but it felt like it did. Like the air got sharper. I played the next song on muscle memory and kept glancing back when I could. She wasn't staring at me the way drunk girls sometimes do, like you're part of the entertainment package. She watched the band, watched the music, and when my eyes found hers, she didn't look away. No flinch, no coy move, just a calm, direct look that landed in my chest like a hand closing around something. I missed a lyric, covered it with a grin and a shout, and the crowd didn't care. Ryan shot me a sideways look. "You good?" And I nodded like I was, but my focus had snapped into a different place. Not the fretboard, not the room, not the bills waiting at home. Her. By the time we hit the end of the set, I knew one thing, clear as the ringing in my ears. I wanted to know her name, and I didn't trust myself to pretend I didn't. We stepped off stage, sweat cooling on my neck. I set my guitar in its stand. The bar noise rolled over the curtain like a wave. Ryan clapped my shoulder. "Good set, man." "Yeah," I said, but my eyes were already cutting toward the opening, because out there, Emily Carter was somewhere in the crowd, still ordinary to everyone else, and already dangerous to me. The break hit like someone cutting the power to my nerves. 1 second I was under lights, pushing sound into bodies. The next I was off stage, shirt stuck to my back, ears ringing, and my brain trying to act normal. Ryan headed straight for the bar like he had a punch card. Devin lit a cigarette out back. I stayed near the curtain, wiping my hands on my jeans, pretending I was checking my strings, while my eyes kept drifting to the right side of the room. Emily was still there. She'd moved closer, same calm, same quiet focus. Her friend was laughing at something on her phone, but Emily wasn't glued to it. She was watching the room the way some people watch weather, like she noticed shifts most people walk through without feeling. I didn't decide to go to her. My feet just started doing it. The floor was sticky. Someone bumped my shoulder and slurred an apology. I nodded like a guy who belonged in chaos. But I wasn't in chaos. I was locked on one point. At the bar, I slid onto the stool 2 seats away from her. Close enough to talk. Far enough to bail if I needed to. She glanced over. Up close, she looked even more composed. Not cold, controlled. "You're the guitarist," she said. "Guilty." I lifted my water like it was something stronger. "You actually listened. That's rare here." Her mouth curved. People come to bars to escape themselves. Music just gives them cover. That line hit like it had been waiting for me. I turned toward her. What do you do when you're not reading the room like a detective? Publishing, she said. Copy editing. Mostly fixing what people think they said. I let out a short laugh. That sounds like a full-time job. It is. And you? Trying to be taken seriously, I said, and it came out before I could dress it up. Band stuff, writing, recording in garages, paying for it by playing places like this. Her eyes didn't do that pity thing. No softening, no fake sympathy. Do you like it? She asked. Some nights, I said. Some nights it feels like I'm dragging a dream behind a truck. She nodded like that made sense. What's the band called? Neon Highway. That's a very Denver, she said, like she'd decided it was honest enough to be funny. I smirked. And you are? Emily Carter. I repeated it once in my head, the way you do when you don't want to forget something. You're here with my friend Jenna, she said, glancing over. She wanted live music. I wanted an excuse to leave my apartment. Charlotte, I asked, guessing wrong on purpose. She gave me a look, surprised, then amused. No, Denver, but I travel for work. Books, I said. Concerts, details. You caught that, she said. Yeah, I admitted. I don't usually. A silence opened, not awkward, just space. The kind you could fill or respect. She filled it first. Your lyrics, they're not lazy. I blinked. Most people don't know what I'm saying. I do, she said. You sound like someone trying to outrun something. My throat tightened, and I hated that she was right. I leaned an elbow on the bar. You always get straight to the point? I don't like wasting time, she said. Then, quieter. Life's already good at that. Ryan drifted up beside me, eyebrows raised like he'd just found buried treasure. Yo, Mike, are you alive? Yeah, I said, not taking my eyes off Emily. Just hydrating. Emily's smile flashed again. Small, controlled. Your friend seems loyal. He is, I said. Too loyal. Ryan held his hands up. I'm gonna go pretend I didn't see this. He leaned in and whispered like he was passing state secrets. Don't screw it up. When he walked away, Emily watched him go. You're close, she said. Since we were kids, I told her. He's family. She nodded once like she respected that. Then she looked back at me, steady as ever. So, she said, are you going to ask for my number? Or are we going to keep pretending this is casual? My chest thumped, clean and sharp. I didn't smile big. I didn't get cute. I just said, give it to me. And for the first time in a long time, the future didn't feel like a vague threat. Felt like a door. Emily texted me 3 days later. Emily, symphony on Friday. Mahler, you'll hate the clothes, but you might like the sound. Want to go? I stared at the message like it was written in a different language. Symphony wasn't my world. I played loud bars with sticky floors and broken monitors. I wore black tees because they were cheap and I didn't have to think. My first instinct was to say no. Not because I didn't want to see her, because yes felt like stepping into a room where I didn't know the rules. Then I heard her voice in my head. I don't like wasting time. So I wrote back. I'm in. Tell me what not to do. She replied fast. Emily, show up. Listen. Don't joke through the quiet parts. Friday night, I stood outside the hall feeling like a guy who'd walked into the wrong movie. Clean stone, bright lights, people dressed like they belonged to something polished. I almost turned around. Then Emily came down the steps, hair pinned back, coat fitted, eyes calm, not trying to impress anyone, just present, like she'd decided this was worth showing up for. You look uncomfortable, she said. I am, I admitted. You brought me to a place where everyone seems like they have a retirement plan. Her mouth twitched. You'll survive. Inside, the air was different. No beer, no shouting, just soft conversation and the rustle of programs. We found our seats, and when the musicians walked out, the room stood like it meant it. The first notes hit and I felt my shoulders drop without permission. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It filled the space with something controlled and heavy, like a river you couldn't argue with. I watched Emily as much as the stage. She listened with her whole face. Still, focused, not chasing stimulation. The kind of calm that comes from not being scared of silence. Halfway through, I realized how much of my life I'd built around noise, around motion, around never sitting still long enough to feel what I didn't want to feel. Emily leaned toward me during a pause. So, I didn't try to sound cool. It's bigger than I expected. She nodded like she'd known that would happen. Most things are, when you actually pay attention. Walking out after, the city felt louder than it had before. Cars, voices, my own footsteps. Emily slipped her arm through mine like it was natural, like we weren't strangers anymore. And for the first time, it hit me clean. This wasn't just a pretty woman at a bar. This was a future trying to get my attention. And I didn't want to miss it. After the symphony, things moved fast. But it didn't feel reckless. It felt deliberate. Emily didn't play the usual games. No wait 3 hours to text back nonsense. No emotional fog to keep a man guessing. If she liked something, she said so. If she didn't dress it up. That kind of clarity can be addictive when you've lived in uncertainty. The first time I tested it, I didn't even mean to. We had plans on a Tuesday, simple dinner at her place. I told her I'd be there at 7. At 6:30, Ryan called about a last-minute studio slot opening up. Cheap, rare, the kind of opportunity you say yes to before the universe changes its mind. I told myself I'd make it work. I didn't tell Emily. I didn't want to deal with her being disappointed. So I chose the coward's option. Silence and speed. The session ran long. Phones died. Time disappeared. When I finally knocked on her door, it was close to 9. I had that familiar band guy grin ready, an apology shaped like charm. Emily opened the door and didn't yell. That was the problem. She just looked at me for a second, calm and still, like she was taking a measurement. "You're late," she said. "I know. Work thing. Studio." She held up a hand. Not dramatic, just final. "I'm not mad that you chased music, Michael." Hearing my name like that made my stomach tighten. "I'm mad you didn't tell me," she continued. "If you want a serious life, you don't vanish and hope your smile covers it." I swallowed. "You're right." She nodded once, accepting it like she wasn't here to punish me, just to set terms. Mistakes happen. I can forgive mistakes. I won't build a relationship with someone who lies to make things easier. There it was. A rule. Clean, simple, non-negotiable. Later, when bigger choices showed up, weekend gigs that landed on dates we'd planned, meetings, travel, she never asked me to quit. She didn't compete with my career like it was another woman. She just watched what I did. And somehow that was harder than any ultimatum, because it forced me to become the man I kept claiming I was. The longer we were together, the less I cared about big moments. Not because I got lazy, because I stopped needing proof. Emily slipped into my life the way a good song does. Quiet at first, then suddenly you can't remember what the silence sounded like before it. She read my contracts without making me feel stupid. She told me when a lyric was trying too hard. When I lost my voice after a 3-night run, she showed up at rehearsal with tea and lozenges like she'd already decided I was worth taking care of. Ryan noticed before I did. "You're calmer," he said one night while we packed up gear. "It's disgusting." I smirked. "Shut up." But he wasn't wrong. I stopped spinning out about every little thing. I started paying bills on time. I started finishing songs. Like having someone steady across from you forces your chaos to either mature or leave. The proposal happened on an ordinary night, which is exactly why it worked. We were on her couch after an old movie, one of those black and white ones she loved. The credits rolled. The room was lit by a lamp in the corner and the soft glow of the city through the blinds. No music. No audience. No plan to impress anyone. Emily was curled against me, bare feet tucked under her, hair falling loose. She looked tired in a real way, not a dramatic one. Like she'd spent the day being competent for other people and was finally letting go. I'd had the ring for 2 weeks. It wasn't huge. It wasn't flashy. It was the kind of ring a man buys when he's thinking about a life, not a photo. My chest was steady. That surprised me most. I reached into the side table drawer, pulled it out and didn't kneel. Not because I didn't respect her, because it wasn't that kind of performance. I just turned toward her, held the ring in my palm, and let the truth come out clean. I don't want a highlight reel, I said. I want mornings. I want the boring stuff. I want the hard stuff too, as long as it's with you. Her eyes widened, then softened, and her hand went to her mouth like she didn't trust herself. Emily, I said, voice low, controlled. Marry me. For a second, she didn't move. Then she laughed. One sharp little sound like relief, and tears came right after. Not pretty, not staged. Real. She nodded fast. Yes. Just one word. Quiet. Absolute. I slid the ring onto her finger and she stared at it like it was proof the world could be safe. Then she leaned into me and I held her, feeling something settle in my chest I'd never had before. Stability. And I believed, fully stupidly, that I'd earned it. Emily got the offer on a Thursday. Charlotte. Bigger title. Better money. The kind of career step people are supposed to celebrate without hesitation. She told me over dinner, trying to keep her tone even, but I saw the light behind her eyes. She wanted it, and she was bracing for me to make it about me. I didn't. I looked at her and said the line a good man says. You should take it. Tasted bitter anyway. We tried to do it right. Calendar planning. Flights. Video calls. Promises that sounded solid when you said them out loud. I told myself distance was just logistics. That love was stronger than geography. That I wasn't the type of guy who clung. First, it worked. She'd call me after work, hair up, glasses on, talking through her day while I sat in my apartment with my guitar across my lap. I'd play with her rough ideas. She'd laugh at my dumb jokes. We'd fall asleep together through a screen like it meant the same thing. Then one night, maybe a month in, she said it too casually. Tyler's been transferred, she told me, like she was mentioning a restaurant opening, to a city nearby. I kept my face neutral. Tyler, my ex, she said. It's not a big deal. I just thought you should know. I didn't want to be jealous. I didn't want to be that guy who hears a name and starts acting small. So I shrugged like it was nothing. Okay, I said. Thanks for telling me. But after we hung up, the room stayed tight. I knew enough about Tyler to know he wasn't ancient history. She'd mentioned him before, never with heat, never with tenderness, but always with a little carefulness in her wording. Like a chapter she hadn't burned, just closed. After that, the calls started changing in tiny ways that didn't have a headline. Shorter, later, more busy than usual. Her replies got colder, not mean, just thinner, like she was reading from a version of herself that had fewer details. When I asked how her day was, she answered like she was filing a report. And the worst part was the sound of her voice. It didn't sound like she missed me. It sounded like she was practicing distance. The first Real crack happened on a Tuesday. I called earlier than usual, just trying to catch her before she got swallowed by work. She answered on the second ring, but her voice came out tight, like she'd been caught mid-sentence. Hey, she said quickly. Behind her, I heard it, muffled laughter. A man's laugh, close enough to be in the room. My grip tightened on the phone. You have company? A pause. Too long. Then she exhaled like she was choosing a story. I'm with some people from work, she said. We're wrapping up. Can I call you back? Her tone wasn't warm. It wasn't annoying either. It was urgent, like she needed the call over. Sure, I said, keeping my voice even. No problem. We hung up. I sat there staring at my wall, hearing that laugh again in my head. It wasn't proof. It wasn't a confession. But it was the first time my trust snapped into alertness. I didn't rage. I didn't text her a paragraph. I didn't call Ryan and make it a scene. I opened my laptop, booked a flight, and moved like a man doing something he didn't want to do but refused to avoid. At the airport, I called her. Hey, I said when she answered. Michael. Her voice jumped. I'm coming to see you, I said. Tonight. Silence. Then a soft laugh that didn't match anything. Tonight? You can't just… I have stuff going on. I need to see you, I repeated. Calm. No edge. That's what made it real. She started talking fast. Meetings. A friend's thing. Bad timing. Next weekend will be better. She said words like complicated and crazy like they were shields. I listened, letting her run out of steam. Then I said, Emily, if you don't want me there, just say that. Another pause. A swallow. That's not what I'm saying, she answered. But it was. I landed after dark and drove straight to her place. A clean apartment complex, gated, the kind of neighborhood that looked safe from the outside. I parked across the lot, killed the engine, and stared up at her building. Lights were off in her unit. I walked up anyway, knocked once, then twice. Nothing. I texted her. I'm here. No response. So I went back to my car and waited. Minutes became hours. The cold seeped in. My mind kept trying to save her. Maybe she fell asleep. Maybe her phone died. Maybe… But my gut stayed quiet, like it had already accepted what my brain kept rejecting. Close to midnight, headlights swept across the lot. Car pulled in. 2 silhouettes inside. They got out laughing, moving close like it was natural. The man's hand was at the small of her back, guiding her like he belonged there. Emily. And Tyler. She was still smiling until she looked up and saw me in my car. The smile died instantly. Her whole body went rigid like someone had cut the strings. Tyler followed her gaze, saw me, and his expression shifted into something smug and confused at the same time. Like he hadn't expected consequences to have a face. Emily took one slow step backward, and in that exact moment, watching her freeze at the sight of me, I understood something with brutal clarity. The story I'd been defending was already over. Inside, the apartment smelled like perfume and some guy's cologne trying to pretend it wasn't there. Emily's hands shook when she unlocked the door. Tyler hovered behind her like he was waiting to be introduced into my life, which told me everything about his character without a single word. Michael, she started. I walked past them, slow, and looked around. The place was clean. Too clean, like she'd been scrubbing a conscience. What is this? I asked, voice flat. Tyler opened his mouth, but Emily cut him off fast. Tyler, go. He hesitated, then smirked like a coward who thinks he won something. He left anyway. When the door shut, the room got quieter than any symphony hall. Emily's eyes went wet immediately. It wasn't supposed to. I held up a hand. Don't. She swallowed hard, tears sliding down like they could buy time. I was lonely. Work was crushing me. He showed up and I don't know. It happened and then it kept happening. I studied her face, waiting for the part where she took responsibility without dressing it in excuses. It didn't come. She stepped closer. Please, I made a mistake. A mistake is missing an exit, I said. You moved in. That finally broke her. She started talking faster. Pressure, distance, how she still loved me, how it didn't mean anything. I didn't argue, didn't beg, didn't raise my voice. Something inside me had gone quiet in a way that felt permanent. When she ran out of words, I pulled the keys from my pocket, set them on the counter, and slid my wedding band off like it was just another piece of metal. I'm done, I said. Michael. Her voice cracked. I looked at her once, really looked. You made your choice. I'm making mine. Then I walked out. The divorce moved fast. Paperwork, calls, messages I didn't answer. She tried showing up, tried writing long apologies, tried turning regret into a second chance. I didn't give her a stage, but winning the breakup didn't feel like winning. It felt like walking around in someone else's body. Music didn't hit right. The food tasted like cardboard. Days passed without leaving a mark until Ryan died. A late-night accident. Suddenly. No warning. One day my brother and everything was texting me memes. The next day he was gone. And that loss didn't just hurt. It took what was already broken in me and finished the job. My sister didn't ask permission to save me. She just showed up. First it was groceries on my counter like a quiet accusation. Then it was her sitting on my couch with her shoes off, scrolling her phone, acting like my apartment was normal and I was normal and the silence between us wasn't swallowing the room whole. "You've been gone," she said one afternoon, not angry, just stating it. "I'm here," I answered. She looked at me like I was trying to sell her something. "Your body is. You aren't." That was the first time I didn't fight the truth. I didn't give her a speech. I didn't pretend I had it handled. I just nodded once, like a man admitting he'd been bleeding internally and hoping nobody noticed. She kept coming back. Food, laundry, small talk, patience. The kind of love that doesn't get credit because it isn't dramatic. When I finally picked up my guitar again, my fingers felt like they belonged to somebody else. I played a chord and it sounded dead. I played another and it sounded like work. But I kept going because my sister was watching, and for once I didn't want to disappoint someone who'd earned the right to be disappointed. Then Devin Ross found me. Not the old drummer from Neon Highway, different Devin. This one was a songwriter and producer with restless energy and the kind of persistence that should have been annoying, but wasn't. He'd been DMing me for weeks. "Got a project. Need your tone. Just jam once. No pressure." I ignored him until the day I didn't. Maybe it was because Ryan was gone and I couldn't keep punishing myself like that was loyalty. Maybe it was because grief gets bored of silence and starts demanding motion. I showed up to Devin's garage studio with my guitar case and a face that said, "Don't try to fix me." He didn't. He handed me headphones. "Play something honest." So I did. At first it was ugly, raw, unpolished, half-formed. But then something cracked open. Not happiness. Not yet. Something more basic. Purpose. That band didn't rescue me like a movie. It gave me a place to show up on days I didn't want to exist in my own skin. It gave me deadlines. It gave me noise with meaning. The night it all shifted was a small venue, smaller than the Fox and Hound, but packed with people who were there to listen. Devin wanted me to play an instrumental I'd been working on. No lyrics, no hiding behind words. I told him no at first. He stared at me until I ran out of excuses. I played it for Ryan, not as a funeral song, as a promise. When I hit the last note, the room stayed silent for a beat longer than normal. Not awkward silence. Recognition. Like everyone understood that some things don't need an explanation. After the set, my sister introduced me to Claire Morgan at a house party that smelled like cheap beer and good intentions. Claire wasn't loud. She didn't try to impress me. She asked questions that weren't traps and listened like she meant it. Most women I dated either chased my wounds or competed with them. Claire did neither. She just stood steady. Over weeks, then months, that steadiness started teaching my nervous system what calm felt like. Love without chaos felt strange at first, like learning to sleep in a quiet room after years of sirens. Then Emily came back. Not in a dramatic way. Not with flowers. She emailed first, then called, then showed up outside a rehearsal space like she was ready to play the role of regret, until I relented. She looked thinner, older, like life had taken its payment. "I'm sorry," she said, voice tight. "I was selfish. I destroyed us. I didn't feel the old rage. That surprised me. I felt distance. I forgive you," I told her, and I meant it. Not for her, so I didn't have to carry her anymore. "But I'm not coming back." Her face folded. "You're really done." "I've been done," I said. "I'm just finally at peace with it." I went home and told Claire everything, clean, no omissions. She listened, then reached for my hand like she wasn't afraid of my past. That night, in my kitchen, no audience, no highlight reel, I asked her to marry me. Claire's yes wasn't loud. It was solid. And that's how I knew my story didn't end in betrayal. It restarted at peace.
Subscribe and stay one step ahead of cheaters. And trust me, the next story makes this one look like a fairy tale.